Hello, everyone. Welcome to this current workshop of Circuit Stream. This evening for me, but it might be a different time zone for you. Welcome to Intro to Augmented Reality. My name is Luciana Fortes, and I'll be your host for the evening. I'd love to see you in the chat. Feel free to introduce yourself, say your name. If you can, and please do let me know if you can hear me and if you can see me. I want to make sure that you can see me well and hear me well. Hello, everybody. Oh, amazing. Awesome. Great. So I already see that people are introducing themselves, seeing where they're tuning in from. So please do let us know where you're tuning in from. Usually we have a pretty international crowd. I'm based out of Vancouver, for example, so definitely let me know where you are. Oh, hello, Kate. Kate is from Sydney, Australia. Carlos is in London. Paula from Brazil. Hello, Paula. I'm also from Brazil. That's awesome. Ooh, Francisco, Spain, 3 a.m. That's crazy. Oh my gosh, you guys are like on fire. That's amazing. I love it. Oh, we have Jair from Colombia. Alonso from Colombia as well. Jeffrey from Colorado. Wow, just really all over. That's really exciting. Jeremy from Milwaukee. Amazing. Ooh, Max from Melbourne. Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's so great to see everybody here. I'm really excited for the workshop that we have prepared for you guys tonight. So you're going to be learning how to use Unity to build a game designed similar to Pokemon Go. And I'll be your host for the evening, as I've said. So if throughout the workshop, if you can't hear me or see me, definitely let me know in the chat. And before we get things started, I just wanted to go through a couple of housekeeping items. So you guys are all familiar with the chat, which I definitely encourage you to use throughout the workshop to share comments, network. Maybe you could drop your LinkedIn profile and start connecting with everybody else. That's definitely encouraged for sure. And then over to your top right. Oh my gosh, we have emojis function now. That's amazing. Lots of looks like you can share hearts, you can share all that good stuff. Oh, I can see Dayan has already shared his LinkedIn profile, so feel free to do the same. Oh my gosh, I'm loving all of these emojis. I feel like I'm in an Instagram live. I feel so popular. All right, so just going back to the housekeeping. If you go to your top right, you'll see that there's a questions tab. So we'll definitely get to a Q&A session at the end of the workshop, but just so we have all the questions organized into one spot, if you have questions throughout the workshop, be sure to write it there. The great thing about that section is you can vote on your preferred question, and then the most voted questions go up to the top, and we answer those first. And then over to the right of that, we have our polls tab. So I'll be launching 2 quick polls for you tonight, and I'll let you know once they're published there. And then if you could just go over there when the time comes and vote, that'd be awesome. All right, so without further ado, let's get things started because I know you're all pretty excited for the workshop tonight. So this is what you can expect. We'll start with a very brief introduction about who we are and what we do. And then I'll invite Indica up on stage, and then he'll actually do the augmented reality deep dive and go through the technical portion of our workshop. And then I'll wrap up with a couple of resources, and then we'll go straight into our live Q&A session. So be sure to stay until the end. For all of you that might have to drop out of the workshop early, don't worry. The recording will be sent to everybody who registered, as well as the project files and resources as well. All right, so I'm going to take a quick moment to introduce myself. As I said, my name is Luciana Fortes, but you can call me Lucy, and I'm your student experience coordinator here at Circuit Stream. This is actually my 5th week with a team, so I'm kind of fresh. I'm a newbie like you all, but I'm already super excited to be here, and the team and students, everybody's amazing. A little bit about me. So I've worked in education for over 7 years in university prep and also student experience. And a fun fact about me is that both of my degrees are in dance. And in 2016, I danced in the opening ceremony of the Rio 2016 Paralympic Games, as I am from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So there you go. There's a fun fact about me. If you have a fun fact about you, definitely write it in the chat as well. All right. Thanks. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, No? Awesome. And our expert of the evening, Indica Vijay Surya, is one of our instructors, as well as a VR and AR developer. He's been a VR developer for over 5 years. He's done VR for marketing, historical visualizations, industrial applications, and VR games. And a fun fact about Indica is that he loves getting lost in long conversations, especially tech-related. So even after the workshop today, if you guys join us on our Slack channel, you'll be able to continue those conversations with him. So there you go. All right, and talking about CircuitStream in general, what do we do? Who do we are? What are we all about? So we were founded in 2015 as we noticed a gap in education in terms of providing training to the next XR professionals and enthusiasts. So really, we're an educational company at the core. And until today, we're really proud to share that we've trained over 35,000 individuals. So that's really exciting. I love seeing that number. On top of that really cool accomplishment, we're also a very diverse team, very international team of 20. As you can see, we're from all different places from around the world with diverse backgrounds and diverse interests, but with one thing in common, and that's to train the next set of XR professionals such as yourselves. So a really great thing about us as well is that we are Unity certified training partners. So that means that partners are approved based on their expertise, focus on quality education, and commitment to providing the highest level of training available. So that's pretty exciting. These are 3 of the certifications that we have. And a fun fact is that Unity covers 60% of the market. So that's pretty exciting. So here you can see some of the companies and individuals that we've trained over the years. It's pretty exciting, have some really big names there. And we've had a pleasure to train all of them throughout this time. All right, so how do we actually provide our training? So one of the offerings that we have are our workshops, of course, that we offer on a regular basis, but we also have a couple of courses. So I won't go into too much detail here because I'll revisit these courses at the end. So no need to, write things down or pay a lot of attention, but just so you guys have some context about what we do. So we have 2 flagship courses. These are our longer courses. So it's XR Development with Unity, which is our very beginner course, and our XR Project Accelerator, which is our more advanced course. So you don't need any sort of C# experience for the XR Development with Unity, but you do need some for Xor Project Accelerator. So we have a couple of cohorts coming up, as you can see on the dates right there, but I'll definitely revisit this at the end of the workshop as well. And something that's very exciting, we've just launched a new course after a lot of demand. It's called Interaction Design and Prototyping for XR. Our first cohort is on June 14th. There's a really cool discount, as you can see, but I'll talk more about this at the end. And in addition to these 3 longer courses, we have 2 shorter courses, C# Programming for Unity, and also, oh, that's the only shorter course, actually. My apologies. Yeah, so Dayan is posting already the links if you want to access all that information. Still warm from the launch. We just launched this course last week, so it's very fresh, as we can say. And if you want to check it out, it's there. He just posted the link in the chat. In addition to our live classes, we will be having classes directly with a live individual. We also offer one-on-one support and mentorship. So it's very personalized to everything that you need. Yes, fresh like a fresh croissant, as he just posted in the chat. In addition to our courses, we also have team training, which is personalized and customizable. It's for educators and businesses. So if this is something that you're interested in, I'll definitely post our contact info from our admissions team at the end of the workshop, and you can get in touch for more information. All right, so without further ado, let's focus on what you're actually going to learn tonight. So what are you going to learn? You're going to learn how Unity is used to build AR, augmented reality apps. You're going to learn the major AR and VR development tools, how to track planes in AR, how to place virtual objects on real environments, and of course, answers to your questions. Bring them all. Don't go easy on us. And what are you going to be leaving with? So you'll leave with a foundational understanding of AR, an inside look on what you need to get started in the industry, as well as concrete answers to your questions about software and best practices. All right, so one of the things that we're going to focus a lot on tonight is Unity. So we always like to start with a question to kind of understand where everybody's comfort level and experience level with Unity is. So I'm going to launch our first poll of the evening, and I'd love to know, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being you have never heard of Unity before in your life, and 10 being you are the expert, the master of Unity, how much experience do you have with Unity? So I'm going to go ahead and publish this poll right now. So if you could go over to the polls tab to the right of the question tab up at the top, I'll just give everybody a couple of seconds to go ahead and vote. All right, so let's take a look at the results. Okay, so it looks like we have a couple of 1s and 2s, a couple of 0s and 3s. 4, 5, let's see if we have a 10. No, we don't, no 10s, no 9s. We do have 1 8 and 1 6 and 2 7s. So you guys are going to be pretty comfortable with the workshop tonight. But with everybody else, you don't need to worry at all. We're going to be covering the basics of Unity. So don't feel like you'll be uncomfortable or won't be able to follow along. Everything will be explained for you. So let's start with an explanation of what is Unity. So Unity is a free 3D development engine for building games, simulations, and experiences. Basically, it's the easiest way to begin making apps for XR. XR means extended reality, and it's just a fancy umbrella term for AR, VR, and MR, which are respectively augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality. And if this is the first time you're learning about this, don't worry at all. I'm very recent and very new to this as well, so we're in the same boat. All right, so how do you actually take your brilliant idea and turn it into a reality through Unity? So it all starts with your concept and what you'd like to create. Then you push it to an engine, you create it in Unity, and then you push it to an SDK such as Oculus, Steam VR, or Microsoft HoloLens, and then you push it to one of the devices that match up with these SDKs. All right, so without further ado, let's get to the star of the show, the star of the evening. And as such, I'd love to invite Indika Vijay Surya up on stage to give the technical portion of the workshop. Hey, Indika. Good to see you. All right, so I'm gonna.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, it's a good morning to me.
It is. That's right. I want to say good evening so much because it's evening for me, but I know that for lots of the other folks, it's morning or even afternoon. So wherever you are, hello. All right. So I'll drop off, but I'll be back after you're done.
All right. Awesome. Hey, good evening, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're joining in the world. It's good morning to me. I'm joining all the way from Sri Lanka, right in the middle of Asia. If you have heard of Sri Lanka, I'll be totally delighted if you've heard of Sri Lanka. So yeah, so let's get started. So before starting everything, I just want to, I want to share my screen, and I want to let you to tell me that you see my screen properly. All right. Can all of you see this? Awesome. Amazing. Right. So let me present this. There we go. Cool. Now, today we are trying to give you a basic introduction to augmented reality, what actually augmented reality is, and what are the ways that you can build applications for augmented reality. Awesome. Kiki, your preschool teacher was from Sri Lanka. Wow, awesome. Cool. Right. So let me go ahead with this. Right. So when it comes to augmented reality, so as you can see, what augmented reality is basically, you are augmenting something on top of the actual world, right? So augmented, the reality means the actual reality, right? The physical stuff, what's around you, and what augmented reality is basically, you put on something that that's the whole name of it. That's the whole idea of it, augmented reality. So when it comes to AR and AR in general, that we can see, in our day-to-day life these days, there are various types of augmented reality, right? The first one and the earliest one is known as marker-based AR. right? So this marker-based AR kind of came in around 1999 or even before, right? It came up with very basic types of markers, such as a black box. We call them as basic markers, and on top of that, people created algorithms so that they can spawn 3D objects um, by tracking those markers. Then came something called natural feature tracking, right? Where where we're capable of putting up any type of poster, any type of an image with a lot of features, so that we were able to detect and identify the plane of that mark itself. So basically, for an AR campaign with a poster or with a full on artwork, basically it's the marker-based AR to go. And the other one is known as Markerless Ar. So the talk of the hour today, Pokemon Go, is kind of a markerless AR method. Basically, what that does is, when you open up the camera, it tries to identify the context, the environment around you, and creates this virtual world of 3D planes. You cannot actually see the 3D planes, but it creates a virtual world, and you're capable of putting on different stuff on that world. So basically, there's no marker, there's no poster, there's no QR code or anything. You just scan the world, and the application itself will pop out 3D models around you, right? So that's the whole idea of the workshop that we're going to do today. Right. And the other one is, this is fairly new, not really new, but maybe 3 to 4 years new. Tracking body parts, right? So basically, there are like certain algorithms that use to track the body parts. As you can see, even I'm using some sort of a face filter right now. If it's cool, right? Cool. Yeah, this is kind of my favorite. This, the flowery beard man. All right, awesome. Let me get rid of that. I'm gonna come up with that when I'm answering your questions. All right. So yeah, basically we have this body part tracking. So instead of just using tracking algorithms, they kind of use machine learning algorithms and all this AI stuff to detect and identify the body parts. This particular application is called WannaKicks, and Nike and Adidas are using this kind of a platform where you can scan your foot, and it will spawn a 3D model of a shoe, which is really amazing for an e-commerce application. And yeah, so we have different types of augmented reality, and now we're going to talk about how to build AR applications. So there are various different channels that we can build AR applications. You can use your iPhone, your Android, or a HoloLens if you have one, or a Magic Leap. So apart from these two, there are ton of different AR headsets that you can see in the market. But these four are the basic, the top hardware in terms of augmented reality, right? So when we are to build AR applications for iOS, we have to use something called AR Kit. So this is provided by Apple. This is an SDK, a software development kit provided by Apple, known as AR Kit. And AR Core is the Android's competitor for the AR Kit. And also for HoloLens and the Magic Leap. For HoloLens, we have something called Windows SDK. Some people call it Windows 10 SDK, Mixed Reality Toolkit, or whatever. And for Magic Leap, there is something called Lumin SDK. So if you are to build an AR application for iOS, you have to get AR Kit, and so on and so forth. But Unity became a cool guy, right? Unity became a cool guy and gave us something called AR Foundation, right? So around 2 to 3 years back, if you are to build an AR application for iOS, you have to download AR Kit SDK, and you have to build on top of it. And then if you are to get if you want to convert it to an Android, then you have to download AR Core SDK and do a ton of programming and tweaks so that you can transfer that to Android. And you could never convert that to Lumin or Windows or anything else. But Unity came up with something called Unity's XR AR Foundation with something called XR Development Toolkit. And they kind of wrapped everything, wrapped all these SDKs with their own SDK, which is known as AR Foundation. So nowadays, if you have to build an AR application for iOS, you just use AR Foundation. And if you want to convert it to an Android, you just have to download the AR Core SDK. You just need to download it, and then just switch the platform, and it's going to work. It's going to work without an issue, which was amazing. Right. So when it comes to features of Unity's AR Foundation, different platforms provide different support in terms of AR Foundation. All of the platforms support device tracking, just basic tracking, and then plane tracking, AR Core, ARKit, Magic Leap. HoloLens does not provide something called plane tracking. HoloLens does a spatial awareness. It instead of tracking the plane, HoloLens tracks the whole environment around you. And the point clouds, anchors, light estimation. So all of the different stuff, Unity's AR Foundation supports this. So this is kind of like an outdated comparison. I think some of these sticks, there are some of these sticks that are available right now. Anyway, so I think that's pretty much it for now. Let's start the actual workshop. Right, so today what we're going to build is this. So this is my couch. So on top of my couch, there is a Pokemon. This is a fake Pokemon, by the way. There's no name to it. Maybe I could name it with my name, which is Surya. All right, so there you go. You'll be able to throw a ball and you'll be able to catch the Pokemon. So this tiny, cute Pokemon. So this is what we're going to build today. Right. So let me stop this. Get away. All right. So the first thing that you want to do is to download. Yeah, MR fake world on top of real world. Cool. Exactly. All right. So I'm using Unity's Unity Hub. Unity Hub is basically a hub. Which manages different versions of Unity and different projects, and also it has something, it has different templates that you can learn Unity. If you are a fairly beginner to the Unity engine, you can use this learn tutorials to learn. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project. Right, so you can create a new project by clicking this button. Or else, if you have multiple versions of Unity, you can just use one of them, right? So today I'm going to use Unity 2020.1 for this workshop. So if you click this, it will open up with a window to give your project name and where you want to save it. And today I'm going to use Universal Render Pipeline. You can use 3D as well. This is known as the basic pipeline. So the render pipelines are basically how Unity draws objects, right? So here we are going to use Unity's Universal Render Pipeline because this is the new thing, right? And I'm going to hit create. So I'm not going to do that because it takes a while to load. I want to save some time for us. So I'm going to open up this, which gives me a sample scene like this. So basically, if you open up Unity for the very first time with URP, you're going to get something like this. Something like this. And let me introduce you to the Unity's interface, right? So in the middle, you have something like this, which is known as the scene window. So this is where all of your 3D models, 3D objects go, right? So you can move around. So my way of moving around in this 3D scene is hitting the right click. So you'll be able to right click, and when you move your mouse, you'll be able to look around. And using WASD, you'll be able to move around, right? You can move pressing W will move you forward, S will move you backward, A to the left, and D to the right, and E to the up, and Q to the down. Cool. There we go. Right. So when you're moving, you can like rotate your mouse, so you can just see what you're actually doing, where you are, and this is fairly easy to navigate within the scene. Right. So apart from that, there is something called the game window. Right. The game window is basically what the camera sees. So inside a 3D scene, we have a virtual camera, which allows you to see. Which actually outputs the game window right here. Let me stop lighting for a moment because this kind of like takes a while. Oh man, let me stop lighting. There you go. All right. So basically, if I don't know where the camera is. So there you go. So there you can see a virtual camera, and when you move this camera, you can see that the game window. In the game window, you can see the viewport of this. I can move the camera around, and basically this is the main main object in a Unity scene, the camera. Right. So apart from that, we have something called the hierarchy window, where you can see all of this. You can't see anything. Oh, yeah, probably just rejoin. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry for that. All right, anyway, so there is something called the hierarchy window, where you can see all of these 3D models that are in the scene. You can click them and it will select all of these assets for you. And you have the basic tools, the move tool, the rotation tool, the scale tool. So you can click one object, you can click one object, and you can use one of these tools to manipulate these objects. You can rotate them, you can scale them. If you're familiar with a lot of 3D modeling tools, then you know what these are, right? And the other window that we want to talk about is the inspector window, right? It is by default it's by this side. You can change the layout to whatever you want. You can change where you can change these windows. So in any case, if you lose track of these windows, you can go to window and go to general, and you'll be able to find out all the windows right here. Right. So the inspector window is kind of a property window. So when you click one of these game objects in the hierarchy window, the inspector window changes to its properties, right? So when you click the main camera, there is a transform component, and there is a camera component, and there are like a couple of scripts, and also an audio listener, right? When you click the directional light, you can see only a light component and a transform component. Transform component is one of the basic components that are available in all of the 3D, not 3D, all of the game objects. This determines the position, the rotation, and the scale of the 3D model or the 2D model or whatever the game object in the 3D world, in the 3D space. Right, cool. And the last one is that one that we can find right here, which is the project window. You can change this project window to a 1-column layout or a 2-column layout by clicking this. And it's going to open up all the files that you have added in the project, right? All the files that you have added in the project means not the files that you see in the game. So basically, these are kind of like assets that you prepare to be added into your scene, once in a while. So assets, the 3D models, 2D models, your code, your C# scripts, your particle effects, your prefabs, everything is going to be in this set of folders. Awesome. Right, now it is the time to create a new scene for us. Right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder called workshop right here. I have already created, but I'm going to say that I'm going to create. And inside of it, I have another folder called scenes. And inside of it, I have a scene, right? So you can easily create a scene by right-clicking inside this folder, going to create, and selecting the scene. So when you do that, it will create you an empty scene, and you can rename this. So I have renamed this as AR_Pokemon. Right, so you can open up this scene by double-clicking on the scene. You don't want to save that. And here you go. You have a pretty good empty space to rock. Right now, I'm in my case today. I'm going to build my project to my Android device, which you can see right here. I'm an Android guy, right? And I'm using PC. If you are to build an app for iOS, you can use a PC to develop it, but if you want to deploy it to your iPhone, you have to use a Mac, right? You have to use a MacBook or an iMac or whatever whatever Apple, and then you're going to use you have to use something called Xcode. Xcode is basically the coding platform, the IDE that is provided by Apple to build. So Unity will kind of like create a project for you, an Xcode project for you. So you have to open up that project and you have to deploy. So today I'm focusing on Android. It's fairly easy to be, to convert it to iOS as well. So everything's going to be similar. Right. So to do it, I'm going to go to File, Build Settings. And by default, it's going to be PC, Mac, and Linux. So when you create a new project, it's going to be PC, Mac, and Linux. So you can change the platform. For example, if I want to change this platform to iOS, I select iOS and I click Switch Platform. So it will take a while. It will convert all of these 3D models to match the iOS ecosystem, and that's it. So today I have used Android as my default platform. I have switched this before. Now, if I want to like deploy, I can just hit build. So I'm not going to do it right now. So there are a couple of settings that you want to change when it comes to AR apps, building AR foundation apps. So first thing that I want to do is you go to Player Settings, which will open up another window called Settings. So this is where it holds all the settings of the project. So I'm going to click Player. I'm going to go all the way to the other settings. If you're fairly new to this, you'll see something called Vulkan at the top, right? So AR Foundation of Unity and this AR core, it doesn't support Vulkan Graphics API. So basically, Graphics API is something a very low-end set of low-end algorithms which defines how to draw 3D and 2D objects, right? You don't need to worry about it. There is something called Vulkan, and you want to get rid of it. You can get rid of it by clicking this and hitting the this minus icon. And if you're building for iOS, so this is going to be it. But you have to tick some of the tick boxes. There is something called requires ARKit support. You have to tick it, right? And I think that's pretty much it for iOS. For Android, getting rid of that is one. And also you have to set the minimum API level to something around 24 or maybe higher, right? So it's better to keep the minimum supported version. I think it's 24 right now. And it's going to tell you. So when you're going to build it, it's going to tell you that you have to set your minimum API level to this, right? You can go back and forth between iOS and Android by using this tab. All right, now, all right, let's see. Let me turn off my camera for a moment to help you out. What did we have to uncheck with Android again? Yeah, you have to, you don't have to uncheck. You have to go to the graphics API and get rid of the Vulkan, get rid of Vulkan. I miss how to get the player settings or even how to get to OS selection. Yeah, you can go to File. See, yeah, let me open up my mouse highlight so it will show you where my mouse pointer is. There we go. I hope this is much more clearer. All right, cool. So you want to go to File, Build Settings, which will open up the Build Settings window, and here you'll be able to like select your platform and switch the platform, right? And if you go to Edit Project Settings, you'll be able to get this window, and here you can select the player settings. And inside player settings, you can switch in between. Do you have to uncheck Vulkan for iOS too? No. So iOS, there is something called Metal. If you select iOS, the graphics API is going to be Metal, and you can keep it as it is. For Android, there's going to be two, right? Vulkan and OpenGL ES3. You have to get rid of Vulkan. So what's the reason behind removing welcome from the graphics API? Yeah, because the graphics APIs are kind of like the low-level code that supports whatever's coming from the high level. Unity and Air Foundation, all of these algorithms are not compatible with Vulkan. So that is the reason for removing Vulkan. So if you build a standard AR application, then not an AR application, standard Unity application, it's going to work. But for this, you can keep multi-threaded rendering. So only you have to do is to get rid of the graphics API and enable the minimum API level to 24. Right. So I'm gonna go ahead with this. So if you have questions, feel free to put it in the questions tab. So we can save our time. First we can like build this, and then we can talk about the rest. All right. Cool. Just install Unity 3D or 3D project. All right. You have to use 3D. It doesn't matter if you use 2D or 3D because it's anyway going to be 3D. You can all of the basic templates are going to be in 2D. So if you are building an AR application, it's better to use 3D or URP, Universal Render Pipeline. So if you are using Universal Render Pipeline, the first thing that you want to do is to go to project settings, right? Go to graphics and select this, Universal RP high quality, this one. You click this and it will take you in your project window, something like this. You select forward renderer, right? And inside this, in the inspector window, when you select this, there's going to be something called render features, right? And this render features, there will be nothing, right? For me, I have this thing called new AR background renderer, but for you, there's going to be nothing. This is only if you use Universal Render Pipeline. If you choose 3D, that you don't need to worry about this. But if you choose URP, you have to do this. Otherwise, you're going to see a black screen, right? So you have to click Add Render Feature, and then there's going to be something called AR background render feature. So this is basically what allows the project to render the camera input as a camera input in your Unity scene, right? So this is important. So if you see a black screen, this is where this is where you missed out. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to import some of the SDKs for our project. So to do it, I'm going to click Window, go to Package Manager, right? There are a set of packages that I'm going to install. The first thing that you have to do is wait until it refreshes the packages. Yeah, so here you're going to choose Unity registry. So by default, you must be in like in project or something. So here you can change this to Unity registry, and you're going to scroll down to something. There you go, AR Core XR plugin. So in this case, I'm using Unity 2020.1.6, and I'm using the version 4.1.1. Right? You can click here and see other versions. Usually this is the verified version. But I'm using 4.1.1 because for me it gave me a lot of errors when I used 3.1.1, right? So this might give errors because the version that you're using. But for this, I'm using 4.1.1. If you're following along, you can use this as well, right? You can click this and you can click this button. So if all right, the other one is that if you're building for Android, you're going to want to install AR Core XR plugin. And if you're building for iOS, you have to install AR Kit XR plugin. There we go. You can click install, right? So if you want to choose the other version, you can just click this and scroll all the way to this and install that version. All right. The next one is you have to install AR Foundation. All right, this is what we're talking about. So AR Foundation, this version should be similar to the core version of AR Core OS AR Kit. Is it common practice to be running multiple versions? Yes and no. If you want to if you want to stable, if your features are limited to the basics, and if you've been using, all right. So if you are using like the basic features of AR, and if this works, it's better to keep only one version because like changing versions might break your project. if you're talking about Unity versions, yes, it is a good practice to keep Unity, multiple Unity versions, and you're going to stick to some of the long-term support versions, because they're going to be in support for a long time, with the features that you have already. And it is a very good practice to keep on, keep just one version for the whole project. You don't want to like switch versions, or you don't want to upgrade versions, because it might break your project. It might change some of the APIs that you're using, So it's better to keep multiple versions of Unity, but for a particular project, it's better to keep just one project. All right, so I install Ar Foundation, and I'm going to install 4.1.1, right? So that's pretty much it, right? The other setting that I'm going to change is I'm going to go to Edit, Project Settings, and I'm going to go to, there's something called Xr Plugin Management. Here, I choose, I tick AR Core. So if you're using iOS, you have to tick AR Kit. All right, so it took a while to set up the scene, right? So let's quickly go through to how we are going to build this AR application. All right, so I have my empty scene, right? In my, so here I can see the camera. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click my hierarchy window, go to XR, and select AR session. So this AR session, this is provided by AR Foundation. When you click this, you'll be able to see something called AR session and AR input manager, right? So basically, this is where it starts, where Unity starts an augmented reality session. Now I'm going to create another game object. I'm going to right-click the hierarchy window, go to XR, and select AR session origin. Right. So when you do that, inside of it, you'll be able to see another AR camera. Right. So since I have two cameras in the scene, the first thing that I'm going to do is to get rid of my main camera, which I don't want now, because I have a camera already in my scene. All right. So the AR session origin is a script that is provided by Unity's AR Foundation to let this project know that this, that this is going to be the origin of the augmented reality session. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is so this is basically a plane detection project, right? So the first thing that you do is when you open up your camera, you scan around, and on top of any plane that the project identifies, it will spawn a monster on top of that plane, right? So in AR Foundation, there is something called AR plane tracking. So to do it, I select my AR session origin, go to my inspector window, and add component. So you can type AR plane. So there is something called AR plane manager, right? So when you do that, you'll see a component called AR plane manager, and it requests something called plane prefab, right? So plane prefab is a 3D model, 3D object that allows you to draw planes around, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the basic plane prefab, right? So I'm going to right-click this. I'm going to go to XR. I'm going to select AR default plane, which will add something like this. So when you double-click this, you can see, you can see a line right here, a line. So basically, when you click this, you can see a ton of different components in this, which is known as AR plane mesh visualizer, the mesh renderer, and also a line renderer. So I'm going to talk to you about what this is, right? So first of all, I'm going to do is I'm going to select my AR session origin. I'm going to drag my AR default plane and put on top of my AR plane prefab, right? So this AR plane manager is going to use this AR default plane to draw the planes that Unity or the application detects, right? All right, so that's pretty much it. You have an AR scene, you have an AR project, right? All right, so to build it, the first thing that I want to do is you go to File, Build Settings, right? I have my oh, you can't see it. Yeah, let me open up my camera very quickly. So I have my phone attached. I have an Android, and it's attached to my laptop. and I have enabled USB debugging so that I can develop. If you're fairly new to development, just search what USB debugging is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click build and run. This will all right, another one, right? So before doing that, you have to tell Unity that this is the scene that you're going to build, right? So the first thing you have to do is you click add open scenes. So I have like 3 scenes here, but I want this, the scene that I'm working on, which is AR Pokemon. You select it and hit build and run. For Android, it will create an APK, right? A software package where you can put it in your phone and install. But for iOS, it will create an Xcode project. So you have to like go to Xcode and you have to build a build for iOS. So I'm gonna keep it for Android in this workshop because it's fairly quick compared with iOS. So if I hit build and run, so it's gonna take a while. I'm not gonna do that, because it's gonna take a while, and it will give me something like this. There you go, right? So here you can see when you move around. So I have my Pokemon right here. So if you move around your camera, you'll be able to see that it automatically draws planes around you. There you go. Right. So what we want to do is, right, we want to identify the first plane that the Unity scene detects. And on top of that, I want to place the monster in the middle of this plane. So that is what I'm going to do, right? And I'm going to get rid of all the planes afterwards, right? So to do that, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get my monster over here, right? So we will be sharing this project with you, right? So you'll be able to download this project. And if you go to AR Pokemon Go assets, there is something called monster. And there is a 3D model called Monster Hunter. So you drag and drop it in your scene, and you can reset the position to 0, 0, 0, which will give you your monster like this. There you go. Now, what I would do is I'm going to create another script, and I'm going to attach here, right? So let me create a new script. So we're going to start scripting right away. I'm going to go to my workshop. I'm going to create a new folder called scripts. And inside of it, I am going to create a new script. So this is where programming comes into play. Right click, create. May I ask, what's the 3D object format for AR? Is it FBX? Yes. So FBX kind of like integrates all the textures and animations into it, so it's fairly easy to manage. But Unity supports Blender files, objects, so that's all I know. And FBX and GLB files. There are a ton of 3D models that are supported by Unity. So I'm here I'm using an FBX because I have some animations inside of it as well, right? Cool. Right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a C# script, and I'm going to name it as what do I name it? I'm going to name it as plane detector. All right. There we go. Now, since it created this AR, plane detector, I'm going to double click this. I'm going to double click this, which will open up Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code or whatever the ID you have. And I'm going to give you a basic introduction to the to C# scripting. Right. So over here, we import the packages that are provided by Unity and the C#, basic COP C# packages. And we have a class file, which is known as public class plane detector, which is a part of a mono behavior. And inside of this class, I have 2 methods, which is called start and update. So start method, whatever you write inside of this start method is going to execute just once when you hit play. right? It's going to execute just once at the start. The update method is kind of a loop, right? When you're running your application, whatever the things that you write inside the update method, it kind of iterates in between, and it's going to work as a loop, right? So in this case, I'm not gonna do any coding. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of the code that I have written previously, and I'm gonna explain what that does. Right. So in this case, I have another script called generate monster, which is fairly similar to there you go, which is fairly similar to this plain detector. So if you're fairly new to C#, we have a whole bunch of tutorials in the Circuit Stream website. You can go to the C# scripting section, and there you're gonna see a lot of tutorials to get started with C# with Unity. All right. Okay. So the first thing that I have done here is I have imported some of the packages, which is called Unity Engine.xr.ar Foundation and the AR subsystems. Right. So inside my class, I have created two public variables. So these variables kind of holds objects and holds information. Here I have a public AR plane manager, and I named it as plane manager. And then I have a public game object called monster. So this monster game object is going to hold the reference to that to the monsters game object. Right. Then I have another Boolean called isMonsterPlace. I'm going to talk about it a bit later. All right. So in my update method, right, I have a loop, right? So inside that loop, this is a for each loop. So what this does is it takes all the plane manager, all the trackables in plane manager. So the trackables are these, trackables are these, and the planes, trackables are basically the core component of these planes. And the AR plane, the plane is basically just one plane that is identified by the app, right? So what I do here is I iterate through all of the planes, and exactly, you will get access to these scripts as well. So Dehan will be sharing the link to the project, so you'll be able to build it by yourself and see how we have done that. Cool. So here, so don't worry about this if method, right? So if you get rid of this, what I have done here is I have instantiated the monster. So instantiate means Unity will create an object for you. Oh man, yeah, Dejan or Dehan, or there you go. Cool. Dehan, yeah, that's a cool name. Different ways to pronounce, just like my name. All right, so here what I have done is I have instantiated the monster in the middle. Plane.transform.position kind of gives you the middle point of single plane, and quaternion.identity is it defines the rotation of the 3D model. So basically the rotation, we are using something called quaternion inside Unity to detect to hold the rotation information of a 3D model. Don't worry about it. Quaternion.identity kind of gives you the default rotation of the 3D model. Right. So that's it. Right. So if I don't have this, and if I don't have this, or if I don't have this, if I don't have this, it will create 3D monsters to all the planes, right? If I get rid of these codes and hit play, it will create 3D models for all of these planes, and I don't want it. I just want only one, the first plane object to spawn the 3D monster, right? To do that, I have a Boolean which holds that whether the monster is placed, right? And at the start method, I set that the monster is monster placed to false. That means there is no monster in the scene, right? So if I instantiate a monster, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to let Unity know, hey, I already have a monster placed in the scene, right? So when this gets executed afterwards, it will check whether is monster placed is false. But now, since I have placed one monster in the scene, it is true. So this will never execute again, right? And here also I check the alignment of the plane. So plane.alignment equals to plane alignment dot horizontal up. So there are like, different types of plane, detections of the alignments. Horizontal down means you detect the ceiling. You don't want your monster to be on top of the ceiling. Horizontal up means the floor. None means like, that's nothing. Not axis aligned means there's no axis. Sometimes this trackables can detect planes that are not like horizontal or vertical. Vertical, it detects the vertical planes in the scene. But here we are using horizontal up because we want the monster to be spawned on top of it. Right, now I have something called hide plane detection. Is there any other types of detection in Unity aside from planes? For this, we are using plane detection. Apart from plane detection, there is something called point cloud, right? So you can detect the point cloud. So instead of detecting planes, it detects all the points that are around the scene. And there's another one called face target, right? So you can detect face. And the other one is the image target. So as I've explained before, the image targets, you can use AI Foundation for that as well. That target that detects certain posters and stuff like that. Right, so I have something called hide plane detection. So this is a method that I have written over here, right? What this does is, as soon as it places the monster, it will disable my plane manager, right? Plane manager is, plane manager is the component that detects all the planes around you. So as soon as you spawn the first monster, it will stop the plane detection. And so this for loop will get all the planes that are in the scene and deactivates, right? So when you place the monster, right? So if I think I have another, I don't know. There you go. This one right here. So here you can see that, I haven't like get rid of that is monster placed object. So I have like multiple monsters that are spawned, like, they're looking back. They're looking away from me. So monster friends, yeah, there you go. So you can detect all the planes and monsters are going to be everywhere. So if I have this is monster placed to true, that's going to be just one monster, and I need to get rid of all these unnecessary drawings around me. So hide plane detection will get rid of all the planes, right? And it's going to show me just my monster. There we go. No, I still have the plane detection here. But anyway, if you check the last video, you can see that there is no planes. There is no plane drawings around you, which makes it fairly clean. They didn't let you into their club. Yeah, I'm kind of like the master of the monsters. I'm catching them. All right. So here so that's basically it for detecting and spawning a 3D model in the 3D world. Right. So now I have another script that I attach. I named it as monster look at. Right. So if you see this, you can see that my monster, even if I like move around, my monster is looking at me. In this case, if I like move around, he just looks at me all the time. I want that. I don't want him to look away from me like this, right? Like this. So what I have done is I created a script which gets the target, which gets the camera as the target. Camera.main.transform is the AR camera that I have, and in the update method, it will look at me. Transform.look at the target position. So if I have this only without this something called target position, it will rotate like, it will not rotate like this. It will rotate like this as well, which I don't want. I don't want him to like rotate like that way. So what I have done is I have set the y value of that to its own y value. So it's going to be like, it's going to rotate around its y axis. So yeah, there you go. And I have attached this script to my Monster Hunter, right? So if I go here and I can attach this guy to my Monster Hunter 3D model to the sorry, this monster looker. There you go. That's it. So if I add this script to any of the 3D objects, it's going to look at my 3D. It's going to look at my AR camera. Right. So if we did, I forgot to mention, you have to select AR camera and you have to tag that camera as the main camera. So if you don't do it, this will not work. This camera.main.transform will not work if you haven't attached, the main camera tag here. Right. Now we have to figure out how to create a ball and how to, give a force so that I can, push the ball to catch the monster, to throw the ball. Right. So I'm going to open up this right here. So yeah, this is what I'm going to do. This is my sad monster who's going to be picked up by me. And this is the ball. And this is the device, right? This is the device. Just imagine that this is the actual camera, physical camera that you're holding. Oh man, let me make this happy. Let me make him happy. There you go. Right. So what I want to do is I want to give a force so that the ball would, be thrown at the monster, right? So to manipulate it, I have to think of how to calculate that force. So the thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to, so basically you just swipe up, right? You have to just swipe up. So to do that, I'm going to use the basic inputs that Unity provides us, and I'm going to get the two positions, right? So basically you tap it when you swipe up, and when you get a hold of your a finger, it's going to end. Right. So I have created a script called Pokeball, which I'm going to attach to it. Before that, I'm going to create a Pokeball. Right. I'm going to right click this 3D object, create sphere, and this is going to be my ball, which is fairly big. So I'm going to reset its position to 0, 0, 0, and the scale to 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. So this kind of looks like a cool looking ball. And if you select this camera and the sphere, I want to place the sphere, this ball over here, right? So what I do right now is I'm gonna get my sphere, the ball, inside my AR camera. So why I do this is because when I move my camera around, the ball has to come with me, right? So if I place my sphere over here, the sphere is going to be somewhere around the scene, right? Around the 3D world, and that's not going to work. So it has to come with me to be thrown, right? So I put it inside my AR camera, and I'm going to rename this to ball. And here I'm going to attach a material. So to do this, I'm going to right-click, create a material. I'm going to name it, where's my material? Where is it? Create a material. I'm going to name it as ball. And I'm going to drag and drop it on top of my ball. Here you can change the color of the ball like this, or else you can click the base map. And in my project, I have this texture, which kind of resembles a Pokeball. There we go, the Pokeball. And I'm going to hit emission. I'm going to apply the same texture to this as well. There you go. All right. Cool. Now to this ball, I'm going to attach a component which is known as a rigid body. So rigid body in Unity kind of gives the physical properties. Kind of gives the physical properties to any of the 3D models, right? So when you hit play, right? When you hit play, since this has a rigid body, it will get the gravity and it will, just fall down. Just fell down. There you go. Just fall down. You can see that it goes all the way down, right? So and you don't want that, right? So to change that, you can set use gravity of this rigid body to false. And also there's something called is kinematic. So kinematic means that your 3D model, that your physical object is it does not move or it does not rotate. It's going to be a solid in the 3D world, right? So we want this to be solid right now, and we want this to not be kinematic when we throw, right? So if you have is kinematic turned off, any of the 3D forces, any of the forces that apply to this ball is not gonna, throw away, right? But we actually want to add a force. So at that time, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, get rid of is kinematic. Right, so here I'm going to attach another script which I have written called Pokeball. So this one is basically a bit of an advanced script. So I'm going to explain what happens here. Right, so I'm going to open up my Pokeball, which is right here. And here I have something called private rigid body ball, right? So this actually keeps a reference to the rigid body component that I attach to this ball, right? And then apart from that, I have different variables, which is called start time, the end time, and then I have vector 3 variables, start position and end position. Sorry. So the vector 3 variable inside Unity kind of holds 3 points, the X, Y, and Z, right? And also it goes to the to a force, right? The force actually has to take like 3 sides, the X, the Y, and the Z. So start position and end position is basically the touch positions that you that you're going to detect the swipe, right? So when you, for example, if I open up Paint, good old Paint, where you are, where is it? So if this is your screen, so and if you touch here, it's going to keep track of this as the start position. And when you swipe up, right, swipe up and release your finger, it's going to keep this as the end position, right? So this is going to be the start and this is going to be the end. And I calculate this length to calculate a force, right? So when you if your swipe is small, the force is going to be fairly small. If your swipe is large, the force is going to be fairly large. And also I track the time difference of your swipe. So if you swipe fairly slowly, then it's going to give you a very small force. If you do it very fast, it's going to give you a higher force, right? So time, right? So start position and end position, right? So here in my update method, I create a condition, right? If input.touch count is more than 0, that means there is a touch, and that touch, the first touch, input.getTouch0 is the first touch, because you'll have like multiple touches, and the touch phase of this is touch phase began. That means you start touching the screen. Then what I do is I get the position of that start, of that touch, and I apply it to my start position. Right. So since this is a screen, right, and it gives me only X and Y, right? It gives me only X and Y. But start position actually has a Z value, right? So in this input.getTouch.position kind of gives me X and Y only, but I need the Z position as well. So to do it, I just change the Z value and I reduce the transform.position.Z, means the Z value of the ball's position, and I reduce the camera's position. So it will give me the length of this. So for example, if I open this this up, it's gonna give me the length in between this. So this is where I capture the Z value of this, and what I do is I get the start position of the screen. Now what I have is I have the position of the screen, right? Not the actual 3D world, right? So with this, what I do is I convert that screen position to a world position, right? So you touch here, you touch over here, but actually in the 3D world, this 3D model is going to be somewhere else, right? So here, by using this screen to world point, it will convert that position to a 3D world position, right? And it's going to hold that position in the starts pos variable right here. All right. At the same time, I capture the current time when you tap it, and I reference that inside, and I hold that inside start time. Cool. All right. So this is basically for touch start, right? And when you swipe up, and when you release the finger, it's gonna be ended. The touch phase is gonna be the end, right? Here I do the same thing. I get the end position, I set the z value of it, and I convert that position to a world position, and I get the end time as well. So we got all the parameters, and now we're going to do the calculations, right? So I have a vector3, which is known as force right here. I have this one, the private vector variable right here, right? So the force, so what I do is I calculate the force by calculating the distance in between, right? I reduce the end position with the start position. There we go, right? Now, as for the z value of that, I am going to get the magnitude of that force, right? So magnitude is kind of like if you have like, two forces like this. If this force is like 5 and this force is like, 2, it will give me a magnitude of a force, or that it's going to be like it's going to have rotation to align to this, because this is the highest force. The magnitude will give me a force value that kind of is a resultant of multiple forces, right? So here it can be like around 3.9 or something, and the direction of this is going to be this. So magnitude is going to give me the direction and also the size of the force as well. Now what I do is I get the time difference, and I divide that time. I divide the force that I calculated here with the time. So if you're fairly okay with mathematics, if if the time value here is small, that means my swipe is quicker, right? By dividing this force, it's going to give me a fairly large value, right? If you divide by a small value, the resultant the result is going to be a large value, right? So if my time is fairly small, the force is going to be higher, right? If my time is larger, the force is going to be small. There we go. Now we have a force value, right? All right. Now here, what I do is my ball is attached to my camera, right? It's a solid object. It comes with me. There is no force attaching. There is no force that applies onto it. So the first thing that I do right here is I set the kinematic of that ball to false, so that if I apply a force, it will get applied to that 3D object. And I change the use gravity to true. So when I throw the ball, right, it's gonna get that gravity component, and it's gonna fall down, right? You throw it, and it's gonna fall down. Cool. So this is the talk of the town, right? Ball.add force. So here I get the force, and I multiply it by a force factor. So this is basically a force factor is basically a floating point value. So whatever the force that we calculate, if we feel that force is not enough for the swipe, you can use a force factor. So you can manipulate how much of a force that you can apply to this. Yeah, exactly. Pythagoras can tell you the magnitude exactly. Basic mathematics. Cool. Ball.add force. So I multiply it by a force factor, so that I can always manipulate the force that I apply based on the swipe. Right. So I have here something called invoke reset ball. So before that, I'm going to go to my start method to show you what happens when you hit play, right? So here, ball equals to get component rigid body. The private ball rigid body variable will reference this rigid body component right over here, and it will change use gravity to false and is kinematic to true. Fairly the opposite of what we discussed before, right? With this, we set the position of the ball right over here. And with this, transform.position, because we are attaching this script to my Pokeball, it will change the position of the ball to this camera.main.screen to ball point new vector 3 screen.width divided by 2 screen.height divided by 7 and 1f. So basically what it does is, if I open up this again and let me draw my right, so screen dot height is going to be this, and if you divide it by 7, it's going to be like divided by like exact 7 points, and this is going to be that value, right, divided by 7, and screen dot width divided by 2 is going to be this, right? So the resultant of is going to be over here. So the one that I added for z value is basically, if you have your phone and if you have your ball, the z value represents how far that your ball has to be. I guess you can add the random animation to the object after it's been thrown. Exactly, you can do that. You can do that. You can apply rotational force so that will rotate, or maybe kind of like particle effects. You can do whatever you want. So this is going to be the z value, where it calculates the how far away your ball is going to be, right? And what I with this, basically I have the screen point here, right here, but I have to convert it to the world point, the 3D world point. So by using this, I am able to convert this to the world point. Cool. Now let's talk about this guy right here. This guy right here. So invoke, and with this string and 3, this kind of calls this reset ball method after 3 seconds, right? So when I throw my ball, even if it hits the monster or not, after 3 seconds it will reset the ball, right? So reset ball is basically the script that we talked at the start right here, right? Instead of getting the rigid body component, it will like set the gravity to false, set is kinematic to true, and it will reset the ball's position to the previous default position. Awesome. Right, now we talk about collisions, right? So what I do is I basically throw this ball at my monster, right? Ta-dang, ta-dang, right? So when we do this, it needs to, the monster or whatever, it needs to detect that the ball has hit the monster, and there you get rid of the monster because you want to put this monster inside the 3D inside the ball. You don't do that, it's an illusion, right? So basically what we do is we get rid of the monster when it hits the ball, right? So to do that, inside Unity, there is something called collisions, right? So when you select this ball, you can see something called sphere collider, right? So if you get fairly close to this ball, you can see that there's a green line that goes around, right? So basically, this is the collider component of that 3D model, right? Collider, two colliders, when they hit together, if this collider is an actual collider, a physics-based collider, Unity will like bounce them off each other if they have rigid bodies attached, right? It will bounce. It will create new forces, with each other, and will bounce, right? And there is another type of collider which is known as trigger, right? So you can edit this collider. So if I click this and if I drag this, so you can see how this trigger is going to be. Even if I have my 3D model over here, since my collider is right here, the collision is going to be here, not here, right? So basically, this is kind of a boundary to keep track of this ball, right? So there is another one that is called trigger, right? So when you select this sphere collider as a trigger, it will not, Unity will not consider any forces that apply to this to this objects when they hit each other. It's going to be just a trigger, right? You can go through these triggers, right? So now what I want to do is, if my ball goes through this monster's trigger, monster's collider, right? I want to know that it hits the monster, and then what I do is I destroy the monster from the scene. Destroy. So maybe that's why the monster is not a friend. All right. All right. So I have enabled the trigger component of this. Now what I do is I apply. So So I have a 3D model of the monster, but I don't have a collider, right? So even if my ball gets hit the collider, not the collider, hits the monster, it's going to do anything. So to do it, what I do is I select my add component right here, and I apply box collider right here. There you go. So when you click this, so now you can see here that I kind of like added a collider around me. So you can select this, and you can change the size of that collider. I will make this a bit larger so that if my ball gets even closer to this monster, it's gonna catch the monster, right? Right. So here also I'm gonna apply ease trigger, right? So since this has to be a physical object, I'm gonna apply rigid body to this as well, and I deselect gravity and I set ease kinematic to true. All right, there you go. Now, all right, cool. Now, what I do is if this ball gets hit, right? I need a way to detect this collision, right? I need to detect that this collision, this guy is a monster, right? So to do it, what I do is I select my monster, and here there's something called tag. I tag this monster as a monster, right? So here I choose this tag right here. So here I already have a tag called monster, but if you don't have one, go to add tag. You will not have one because it's your own project. Here you can add a new tag called monster, right? You don't wanna apply like multiple tags with the same name. So here I have attached one tag called monster, and I select the monster and I change the tag of that to monster. Cool. Right. So now if I go to my script that I attach to my ball, there is a method called Ontriggerenter. Inside of it, there's a parameter called collider other, right? So this is attached to my Pokeball. So when this Pokeball gets hit with another collider, right? In this case, the monster, right? So this method will will detect all the triggers, right? All the collisions, right? But I want only the monster, right? So to do this, I have a condition. I check the other.game object. So the other basically passes in the object that it gets, that it gets collided. So other.game object is always going to be the monster in my case. Other.game object .compare tag. I compare the tag of that, and if it is the monster, then I destroy other.game object. Awesome. So we have done with all the scripts. Right. So now what I do is I select my, I have that Pokeball script right here, which applies the force right here. And also I have a script which is called, where do we have it? This one right here, generate monster, right? So generate monster is attached, applied to my, it has to be applied to my AR session origin. So let me get my generate monster script right here, because this will take the plane manager. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to drag and drop my plane manager component on this, and also the monster, right? So the first thing that I do is I create a prefab out of this monster. I drag my monster to my scene right here. Original prefab. Right, there we go. And I get rid of this monster because I don't want a monster to be in the scene, right, at first. So this air session origin will create a monster for me inside this. That's pretty much it. So to deploy, you save the scene, you go to File, Build Settings, select the scene that you're going to build, right? In this case, Air Pokemon. This is the scene that I built. And I select build and run, which will create a build for me and will automatically install in my phone, which will give me this. Ta-da. Right. I can show you a live version of it, but the problem is it's gonna be super laggy. So you have the access to the project files. You can download it. You can put it in your phone and see how it goes. All right. So yeah, there you go. Now it detects. So in this case, the ball kind of like not that one. Right here, the ball hits the collider and the monster gets destroyed. Destroy. Awesome. Cool. I think that's pretty much it for today's workshop. I invite Lucy back on stage to continue the rest of the presentation. And I'm going to get rid of my screen. Ta-da. And I'll be back for the questions and answers with a filter, of course.
Of course. Thanks so much, Indica. Can everybody hear me and see me? I hope so. Yeah, send an emoji if you can. Yay, amazing. Okay, so as you guys can see, Indica wasn't kidding when he said he really likes to talk about, have long conversations, especially XR related and tech related. So that you can see our expert in action. He's in the flow. So that was an hour of solid content. All right. So I can see, it was great to see you guys continue to engage in the chat, continue to do so. I see that we've gotten a lot of awesome questions in the questions tab. So we'll get to them in just a few minutes. No, yeah, he's so good with explanations, and just his instructions is amazing. Yeah, so glad you guys enjoyed it. So before we get to the questions, if you have any other questions, be sure to write them in the questions tab. I'm going to launch our second poll of the evening or of the morning of where you are. So we'd love to know on a scale from 0 to 10 how likely you are to recommend this workshop to a friend. So this really helps us to improve our workshops, cater our workshops so that we give you guys the content that you need. So I'm going to go over to the polls tab, and I'm going to go ahead and publish it. All right, so it is live. So if you could go over there, just give your vote, that would be awesome. So while everybody's do that, so yeah, Deon's just to remind everybody that he'll send all the replay and Indica's project files so you can revisit the workshop and recreate the project by yourself. Definitely let us know if you do that. Let us know in Slack how it goes. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen again really quickly, just so we can go over we can wrap up and go over some resources. All right, so I think you can all see my screen, hopefully. And I know I mentioned earlier about our courses, so I wanted to just do a quick recap and give you guys a little bit more pieces of information in case you are interested in additional learning opportunities. So we have our flagship course. It's Xor development with Unity, 10 weeks, 40 hours of instruction, and it's all live classes. And what do you learn in this course? You learn how to use Unity to make AR and VR apps. You get the basics of C# fundamentals, which is the programming language for Unity. As you saw, Indica did a little bit of that today. You get 4 hours of instruction per week, so 3 hours of class and 1 hour per week of 101, and weekly 101 support on a personal project. And you get a certification at the end as well. So we just did some recent upgrades to this program, which is pretty cool. Right now, not only do you leave with a personal project, but you also do 7 to 8 other mini projects during the course, and one big final project at the end. So it's very portfolio focused. We have 2 cohorts coming up, May 25th and July 6th. The May 25th one is time zone friendly to this group because it's 10 a.m. Central Eastern summer time, so that's pretty good. And it's $39.50 in the bundle, which I'll talk about soon. So that's the Xor development with Unity course. And then we also have our Xor Project Accelerator. So unlike the other course, it isn't beginner friendly. So the other one, you don't need experience at all. This one, it's an 8-week portfolio course, and you do need Unity experience. As I'm explaining about the courses, Deon is posting all the different syllabus the syllabi, and all of the different links if you'd like more information. It's 5 hours of instruction per week. You get weekly office hours. You get a certification as well. And at the end, you'll accelerate the design, development, and launch of our capstone project. So we also have another cohort coming up May 25th, and that's $44.50 with the bundle. So what does the bundle look like? So in addition to each of these courses, you also get C# scripting fundamentals, which is the programming language for Unity, as well as a Quest 2 headset. So that's a pretty awesome deal. And I'm really excited as well to talk a little bit more about the interaction design and prototyping for XR. It's a new course that we just launched last week. I'm going to go ahead and invite you all. Let me just. So we're having a really cool event next week, which is our open house. We're going to talk about all of these courses, and in particular, the interaction design and prototyping for XR. This course was formulated after lots of demand from you guys, and this course focuses on how to design an experience for AR and VR versus how to do that for web and mobile apps. What are the best practices and patterns of design applied to XR, understanding usability for XR, what are the techniques and tools to design and create XR prototypes, and you leave with a CircuitStream certified XR designer with Unity badge, which is pretty exciting. It's $39.50, but for a first cohort on June 14th, alums get 50% off, so that's pretty exciting. I'm going to go ahead and invite everybody to our open house, which is when we'll be talking about this course as well as our other courses, and then you get a chance to ask us questions and go ahead. Sorry, I'm gonna share the link here with you guys. 1 second. All right. All right, there you go. Sorry about that. So that's a really easy way to sign up if you'd like. So you could just click on the button Open House, and we'll be talking about that discount. And you can also ask questions about the XR development with Unity course, as well as the Project Accelerator course. You can't see, but we have 3 various payment plans: a 3-month payment plan, 6-month, as well as 12-month payment plan. I'm just going to leave that button up there so you guys have access to it. And we also provide team training, as I mentioned before. So that's all customized, and I'm going to share our contact info from our admissions team. So if that's something you're interested in, you can definitely get in touch with us. In addition to our courses, and all of them, most of them, including our one-on-one sessions with an expert, we also have packages of one-on-one sessions that you can purchase on the side. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this button, but Dayan is sharing some additional links in the chat if you'd like to sign up. If you're looking to download a syllabus or just find more information about the course, you can go to this to our website via this link. And of course, our admissions team. So we have Steph, Kyle, and Brendan. They're awesome. If you don't know which course to take, or if you should take a course, what the courses are for, or just what is the best learning path, be sure to get in touch with them. Steph is in the chat, but this is also the contact info. You can go to our website, circuitstream.com, or email us at education@circuitstream.com. And be sure to sign up on Slack so we can continue to chat after our workshop today as well. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm almost done, so we can call Indica back for the questions. But I'm just going to go ahead and share our Slack. Slack link here in the chat. Aha! There you go. So in our Slack community, we have current students, alums, and me, of course, if you want to talk to me, or Indica, continue that conversation. All right. Oh, I can see Indica is back with his awesome filter. So let me stop sharing my screen.
Awesome.
And let's go ahead. Oh, you look beautiful.
Yeah, I look beautiful here. I look pretty. I look pretty.
You look very pretty. You should sing that song. I look pretty. I feel
Yeah,
pretty.
pretty. Yeah, it's gonna be like, you're talking with an avatar.
Exactly. I know. I see. I feel left out. I wish I had one.
Yeah, I had to like move like a robot now.
Exactly. Oh no, Carlos is saying, yeah, he won't have nightmares tonight.
Cool. Let me get my cool filter right here.
Oh yeah, I like that one. Oh, I like
Shall
the
I answer
beard
like
one.
this?
Yes, and very
The flower
serious.
beard.
I need one too, though. I need one too.
Oh, really? With flowers.
Yeah. I'll just get my plants and just put them here.
Cool. Let's bring up the questions.
Yes. All right. So let me go by most voted. Be sure to vote on your preferred question. So let's start this live answer here. So Vincent is asking, how are you handling when the current plane moves or is gone from the camera view? Example, you are on a balcony and then you move and it's gone. Also, if you turn around and it shows the same plane, is this game object still there?
Exactly. So Air Foundation, AirKit, AirCore is highly powerful. So when you move around, sometimes the plane gets away from the camera. So when you do that, and when you come back to that exact location, when you look at that exact location, it kind of like keeps the actual world in memory, right? So when you look at it again, it's going to spawn all the 3D planes that you tracked before right on top of it. But there is a bit of a how do I say, a change. There can be a little bit of a change, but in Unity, in Air Foundation, there is something called anchors. Using anchors, you can actually get the 3D point cloud anchors, and using these anchors, you can precisely spawn 3D models. Place 3D models. But you don't have to do anything. It will automatically detect the planes, even if you move it from the camera view.
Awesome. Thanks, Indica. Thanks, Vincent, for the question. Now we have Roberto. Is there a way to use a game in AR for multiple players using Unity?
Yes. So basically, there are two things. The first one is Air Foundation supports multi-user capabilities. Even in Air Foundation, you can see something like AR participants. Having multiple AR participants in the same AR world. But in order to have some interactions, chat with them, all of these multiplayer features, you have to use Unity's multiplayer features, or maybe you can use another external plugin as well to manage that. But AR multiple worlds can be done. There is something called AR Foundation anchors, not like the basic anchors, but in this case, you can the host can actually start an anchor, probably on top of the table, and the clients, the other people can join the host and scan the exact table, and it's going to spawn the same content in the other person's table as well. It's really cool.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks, Indica. Thanks, Roberto. Oh, yes. Continue with the emojis. So Steph already answered Carlos' question. Now you answered Amanda's question. Now we have Wing Che. Once created in Unity, does it need to rewrite in Xcode and Java in order to publish the app?
Nope. So if I'm building it for Android, you just have to Unity. These days, Unity will come integrated with Android Development Kit, Android Software Development Kit. So when you hit build and run, if your phone is attached and USB debugging is turned on, it will create the app for you and it will install for you. And not just that, it will launch the app for you, right? And if you just build it, it will create the app, and you'll get the APK file, or you can export the in Android there is something called ABB, application bundle or something. You can build that as well. But for iOS, the first thing that iOS does is it will create an Xcode project for you, right? It will convert the Unity project. Not convert, it will create a new Xcode project for you with all the content that you built, right? So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to manipulate any of the scripts. You don't have to do anything. You open up that Xcode project, and if you're familiar with iOS development, you just have to connect your iPhone and just run it, just play it. When you play it, it will build it inside Unity and it will run. So you don't have to do any coding or any scripting or any changes in Xcode, other than the certificate stuff, other than the basic parameters of the project.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks, Wing. Now we have another question by Wing. How to store different characters in each login? Which database would you recommend?
Yeah, so in this case, I don't think that we need to use a database because for an example, in my case, I just created one game object, right? The monster. But what we can do is we can create an array of game objects, different types of monsters. We can create an array of game objects. And instead of just one game object, I can reference all of these different monsters inside that array, right? And when you instantiate, when you spawn a new monster, it can, we can use C# scripting to randomly select a monster from that array and spawn, right? So the database, there is no actual database, but we hold all the information inside an array game object, an array, a set of game objects. But if you want to use, databases, if you want to use, if you want to update the monsters, there is no, you can use SQL and SQLite's kind of databases inside it, but I don't recommend it. There is something called Unity Asset Bundle. So you can upload all of your 3D models as asset bundles to somewhere in the cloud, and you can download them and spawn them. So for a beginner one, I don't recommend that. It's much more advanced. But for this, you can just use an array, and you can reference them fairly easily.
Nice. Awesome. All right, now a question by Carlos. What is the export function for something like Quest 2?
For Quest 2, it's gonna be the same. Quest 2 actually has the Android operating system inbuilt to it, right? So when you build for Quest 2, you have to use Android, but you can test it with just by using PC support. PC support for the build settings. And you can connect it with the Oculus Link cable only for the testing. If you want to export into the Quest, you have to use Android. Just connect it, build it. That's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Indika. Thanks, Carlos. Darren asked about if alums get 50% off. So yes. Wayne has another question. Does AR Foundation geolocation /SLAM work good for indoor environment?
Yes. So AR Foundation, AR Foundation is basically about detecting the planes and detecting the world around you based on the camera input, right? So it's going to work indoor or outdoor or anywhere. But when it comes to geolocation, you have to use geolocation externally because there is no AR Foundation geolocation into it, right? But Unity provides the core libraries of getting the geolocation of the device, and even if you are indoors, it's going to give you a fairly close value, and you can use that geolocation to kind of like filter out what you want to show, right? So when you build applications like Pokemon Go, the first thing that you do is imagine that you're right here and you want a certain Pokemon. I don't know the names of it. I'm not really familiar with Pokemon. You want, what do you call it? Salamander, right? You have a salamander around here, right? So basically you filter out this geolocation, and when you're spawning, you let the script knows that you have to spawn only a salamander, not something else, right? So you can combine all these geolocation scripts and AR Foundation to work together. So yeah, there you go.
Nice. And also on geolocation, Wayne asked, at the same geolocation, can different login users see and collect different characters based on their levels?
Can do. So basically, when you're actually building something like Pokemon Go, so basically what we did today is just the interaction of, throwing the ball and catching the monster. But games like Pokemon Go, it's fairly large, right? It has a lot of integrated systems into it. It has cloud services that manages your level, your profile, right? And based on that, you can let, as similar to what I explained before, based on your level, based on the geolocation, you can define, if your level is greater than this, then spawn one of these game objects. If your location is around here, then filter out these different objects. So it's just a matter of scripting, letting Unity know what to spawn at what place.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks, Indica. Thanks, Wing-Che. Now we have a question by, and I'm sorry, you guys, if I'm butchering your names. I do apologize. You can definitely correct me in the chat. I don't know if it's Gyro or Hyro. Anyways, the question is, how does Unity work when making a GUI? It's responsive by itself?
Yes. So you can make it responsive. It is responsive by itself. So there is something called Unity Canvas, Unity UGUI. Using that, you'll be able to create UI components, and you can anchor them, right? You can anchor them to, maybe if you want a 3D, if you want a button to be in the left side of the screen all the time, you can anchor them, and you can, using these anchors, you can let them let it know that it needs to be scaled when your screen scales, right? So it's just a matter of integrating Unity's GUI support, right? And inside of it, you have a lot of features like text boxes, buttons, images, sliders, scroll bars. All of them are integrated in it. So just play around and you'll see how it works.
Awesome. Thanks, Indica. And I can see that people are bullying me already in the chat, but that's fine. That's fine. Let's go to Jeffrey. All right. So hopefully I'm saying that right as well. Jeffrey is asking, you mentioned to create an Xcode file, you need an Apple device. With AR Foundation being an OS agnostic platform, if you want to develop for multiple devices, do you need to run virtual machines / Hackintoshes?
So when you're building your application, right, when you're developing your application, you can use PC or Mac or any device, right? Only when you want to publish to an to the phone, to the device, if you are using an iPhone, right, you have to use a Mac, because Unity will create an Xcode project for you, and this Xcode projects can only be opened through a Mac, right? There is no Xcode for Windows or Linux or whatever, right? It's only available for Mac. So you can export the project from using your PC, and then you can copy that Xcode project to an Apple device and publish it, right? But in terms of virtual machines, if you don't have access to a Mac, right, you can install a virtual machine which runs Mac OS. I don't know. It's fairly going to be hard, right? You have to install the virtual machine, and then you can do the development as it is. You can connect your iPhone to your PC, which runs the virtual machine of Mac OS, and through that you'll be able to run it without an issue.
Awesome. And then another question by Jeffrey. I think this is our last question. Definitely drop another question if anybody still has one. But Jeffrey's asking, is there something along the lines of ARKit or Core for WebGL?
Yes, there is something called WebXR. It's not provided by AR Foundation. It's provided by, I think, Mozilla. There's something called WebXR, which does not use any AR Foundation scripts or whatever, because it's not available yet for WebXR. But you can use WebXR and export it for WebGL without an issue. So if you search for WebXR and Unity, you're going to see a Firefox, a Mozilla's project of how they use WebXR, and you can see a fairly set of good examples where you can use WebXR, and also you can use Unity to build on top of WebXR as well, which is cool. It's coming up. WebAR is coming up.
Awesome. Looks like we got a couple more questions. So Wing's asking, once the user collects 3 monsters, user receives a coupon, how could the coupon store in the user profile and retrieve later?
Cool. So that's why I said, projects like Pokemon Go, they don't rely only on the application itself. It has a separate backend where you push all the information that you collect. For example, if you collect a monster, you let the server know, hey, I collected a monster. And if you collect 3 monsters, you let the server know that you collected 3 monsters, and the server itself will award you a coupon, right? So the server will keep that inside that. So that is the best practice. But if you want to create a game that does not use any servers or anything like that, you can save them. You can save it inside Unity. There is something called player preference. Using player preferences in Unity, you will be able to save all of this information, whatever you want, right? Basically, it is just similar to saving a string variable. For example, you can create a profile player preference, and inside that profile player preference, you can note down different parameters of the user's profile. The number of monsters it collected, the coupons that it generated, something like that. But I need to let you know, this is not very secure, right? Anybody has this application can go into this player preferences, manipulate them, and get their own coupons without even playing the game. So that is why having like a server in a cloud is important when you're building multiplayer, world scale applications like this. Unity has inbuilt, yes, exactly. Unity has inbuilt features to call HTTP methods. There is something called Unity networking, and inside that there is something called Unity. Couldn't remember the name. Unity. Yeah, it's Unity networking. You can use Unity web requests to send and receive requests, and it's cool. You don't need to use anything external.
Awesome. So 2 more questions. Question by Carlos: do you recommend any web pages for Unity?
Yeah, I recommend the Unity's official Learn page. If you go to learn.unity.com, there's going to be a ton of tutorials, that starts from the beginner. There's something called a beginner pathway. You can follow that, and you can get introductions into, scripting, Unity's, Unity's environment. And if you, in any way, if you feel lost in it, you can join our Slack channel and, say hi to us, and we are there to help you out.
Yeah, so Deion's posted that link, and also our previous workshops. And then we also have a great, in our blog post, we have a great series for C#, beginner C#. So if you'd like to check that out, it's definitely, lots of resources available. All right, great. And then V. Garvey: would there be a way for Pokeballs to hit the floor plane and stay around after the throws?
Yes. So basically what you can do is you can create an invisible plane, a small invisible plane, and you can attach a rigid body component to that plane, right? And place it right at the bottom of the monster. And that rigid body will have a collider, right? And also you have to attach another collider component to your ball, and you have to let it not work as a trigger, right? So you have 2 colliders. One is a trigger and one is not a trigger. So when you throw the ball, it will hit the plane and it will gonna bounce. Right? We're gonna stay on the floor. So, but since that plane is an invisible plane, right? Just a collider, you can see that it bounces off on the table or the floor, whatever the plane. Awesome.
So I'm terrible at multitasking. I was trying to answer something. Oh, we have one more question. Okay, one more question by Wing. And we're almost at 2 hours. We're gonna have to wrap up soon. But Wing is asking, what was the database for Unity?
There is no such thing as database in Unity. You can use external database like SQLite, but in order to hold information inside Unity, Unity provides something called player preferences, right? Player prefs. So I will type that over here. So you can save all the information inside player prefs. But if you want to hold any 3D models or something like that, you can't do that. You have to use the storage to manually convert all of these 3D models to something that it's fairly bit advanced. You have to convert and you have to use the memory card to store all the information.
Awesome, wonderful. So it looks like we've gone through all of the questions. If anybody, if you forget your question now and you think of another question, join us on Slack. We'll be there. We'll be there to answer your questions. And to wrap things up, thank you so much for coming. Thank you to Indika, Vijay Surya for being amazing. Lots of emojis. Let's get yes. Party hats. Amazing. Thanks so much, Indika. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Your awesome questions and for being super engaged. And if you're looking for additional workshops, we have one this Thursday. Dayan's going to drop the link if you'd like to check it out. You'll learn how to build a VR bowling game, which is pretty exciting. So that's this Thursday at 12 p.m. PST, I believe. And so it's how to do a VR bowling game, which is pretty exciting. Dayan, are you going to post the link? Oh, he was doing really well up to that last second. No, you got to be quick. You got to be quick. Rapid fire, rapid fire. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for coming. And then, of course, if you'd like to come to our open house, that's next week, May 6th, also at 12 p.m. PST. You can, if you haven't signed up yet, you can sign up on our website. There you go. Okay, so Dayan posted the link. God, 3 hours afterwards, but he did it. Okay. Awesome. Thanks so much, everybody. I hope to see you soon, and have a great rest of your day, evening, wherever you are. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Indika.
Bye-bye.
Oh my gosh, now I see your, oh my gosh, now I see your cat. You were like really small for me. Oh my God, that's so good. We need to do that like regardless for every workshop,
Yeah, exactly. This is so fun.
That's so freaky. Oh God.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.